At my father's funeral I expected my family to console me, but instead they blamed me for not reconciling with him sooner, even though they all knew he refused to speak to me. The affair started 3 years ago at a work conference in Denver. I was on whiskey and validation when Sarah from marketing me in that hotel elevator. My wife Emma was home with our 2 kids, probably reading bedtime stories and wondering why daddy had to travel so much. I could have stopped it right there. Should have. Instead, I back and told it was just stress relief. Standing at my father's graveside today watching dirt fall onto his mahogany casket, I realize I've been burying relationships my whole. My Uncle Dave pulls me aside after the service, his face red with anger instead of grief. Know what problem is, Mark? We're selfish. Dad spent 3 years waiting for to call him back. He's the one who me off. I say, but my voice cracks. When Emma found out about Sarah when she took the kids and filed for divorce, he said I was a disgrace to the family name. So just gave. My cousin Jenny appears beside us, mascara streaked down her cheeks. Let pride keep from own father. I want to explain that it wasn't pride. After Emma left, after I lost my house and my kids started looking at me like I was a stranger during supervised visits, I couldn't face anyone. Especially not Dad, who'd been married to Mom for 42 years and never so much as looked at another woman. He wouldn't take my calls, I whisper. Made 2 calls, Mark. 2 calls in 3 years. Jenny's voice is shaking. Told us he was waiting. Every Sunday dinner, he'd ask if anyone had heard from Pot. The funeral home parking lot is emptying out. Black Sens and pickup trucks pulling away, carrying people who still have intact families to go home to. I'm standing here in a rental car wondering if I even belong at my own father's funeral. My brother Tom approaches with his wife and kids in tow. His 8-year-old daughter used to call me Uncle Mark. Now she won't even look at me. Brought the kids to see Grandpa before he died. Tom says quietly. Did know that? My chest tightens. Well, last month, she drove them 4 hours because she thought they deserved to say goodbye. Dad held Sophie on his lap and told her stories about when we're little. He kept asking if she'd heard from her daddy. Sophie is my daughter. My beautiful 7-year-old who used to draw pictures of our family with stick figures holding hands. Now she draws pictures with 3 people, mommy, herself and her little brother Tyler. Why didn't anyone tell me he was sick? Tom's laugh is bitter. We tried change number twice, deleted Facebook, Mom died thing and blamed her for Dad's reaction to divorce. Wait, Mom died. When? 18 months ago, heart. Tom's voice is flat. Dad never got over it, or abandoned him right after. The parking lot spins around me. Mom is dead. Has been dead for a year and a half. I missed her funeral cause I was too busy drowning in whiskey and self-pity in my studio apartment. The affair was the catalyst. I tell Tom desperately. But losing Dad's respect, that's what really broke me. I couldn't face him knowing what I'd done, so punished him for choices. The words hit like physical blows. I think about Sarah, who turned out to be married too. How the affair ended when her husband found out and to tell our CEO. How I lost the job anyway when the rumors spread. How Emma's lawyer used the affair to limit my custody rights. I need to see the kids. Say, Tom shakes his head. Emma's got a restraining order. Missed 3 scheduled visits in a row last winter. Because watching Sophie flinch when I tried to hug her was more than I could handle. Because Tyler started crying every time I picked him. Like he could smell the failure on my clothes. I was going through a rough patch. We've been going through a rough patch for 3 years. Tom turns to walk away. Dad left something in the will. A letter. Maybe it'll help understand what away. I drive to the law office in a daze. The lawyer, a family friend who's known me since I was Tyler's age, slides an envelope across his desk with disappointed eyes. Inside is a single sheet of paper in Dad's careful handwriting. The lawyer clears his throat. There's more. He hands me a second envelope. Photos, dozens of them. Pictures of Sophie's school plays that I missed, Tyler's first steps, birthday parties, Christmas mornings, all the moments I wasn't there for because I was too ashamed to show my face. In every single photo there's an empty chair. Father requested these specifically. He attended every event children had hoping show. Emma never stopped inviting him. I stumble out of the office and in the parking lot. A businessman in a suit steps around me like I'm garbage on the sidewalk. Maybe I am. My phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. This is Emma. I heard about Dad. I'm sorry for loss. The kids wanted to send flowers but weren't sure where to reach. My children wanted to send flowers to their grandfather's funeral, but they don't know how to contact their own father. I drive to Emma's house, the house that used to be our house, and sit in the car outside. Through the kitchen window, I can see her helping Sophie with homework while Tyler colors at the table. It's the same table where we used to eat breakfast as a family, where I used to read the morning news while Emma packed school lunches and complained about Tyler getting marker on the walls. Sarah used to text me during those mornings. Missing, she'd write. Can't wait for tonight. I was missing everything while chasing nothing. A police car pulls behind me. Officer Martinez gets out, someone I know from Tyler's preschool pickup days. He approaches my window with a mixture of recognition and professional caution. Can't be here, Mark. Know that. I just wanted to see them, from a distance. Through their windows, while they're unaware. He shakes his head. See how this looks? I do see. I look like the kind of man who destroys his family and then stalks them. The kind of man children need protection from. My dad died today. I'm sorry to hear that. But grief doesn't give the right to a restraining order. As he walks me back to my rental car, Emma opens her front door. She's wearing the blue sweater I bought her for Christmas 3 years ago. Back when I still lived here and Sophie still called me daddy every day. Is everything okay? She calls out. Just a misunderstanding? Officer Martinez replies. Everything's handled. Emma's eyes meet mine across the distance. For a moment I see something like sympathy there. Then Sophie appears beside her and Emma's expression hardens. She pulls our daughter back inside and closes the door. I drive to a bar called Murphy's, the same place where I used to meet Sarah before our hotel encounters. The bartender doesn't recognize me. I've lost 40 pounds and gained a decade of wear on my face. Whiskey, I order. Double. The drink tastes like every bad decision I've ever made. At the far end of the bar, a young guy in a wedding ring is texting someone while his phone shows a photo of a woman and baby as his wallpaper. The woman isn't the same person he's texting. I should warn him. Tell him about the funeral he'll miss, the children who'll grow ashamed of him, the family dinners where his chair stays empty year after year. But I don't have the right to give advice about family loyalty anymore. The bartender refills my glass without being asked. Rough day. Buried my father. Sorry for loss. If only it were just today's loss. I've been losing pieces of my for 3 years and today I finally realized there's nothing left to salvage. My phone rings. Tom. Emma called me. He says. She heard about the police thing. I wasn't gonna do anything. That's what scares everyone, Mark. We're not gonna do anything. We're gonna keep drinking and feeling sorry for until something terrible happens. Dad's letter said he forgave me. Dad forgave. Emma divorced. The kids barely remember. Mom died thinking hated her. I'm not even sure why I'm still here. The line goes dead. My own brother just told me he doesn't know why I'm still alive. I finish my drink and order another. Then another. The bartender eventually cuts me off and calls me a cab. I give him the address to my studio apartment, a place so small and depressing that roaches probably feel sorry for me. In the cab I stare at the photos from Dad's envelope. Sophie lost her first tooth. Tyler learned to ride a bike. They had birthday parties and Christmas mornings and scraped knees that needed bandaging. All the moments that make a childhood, and I missed every single one because I was too ashamed to be their father. The cab drops me off at my building. Mrs. Chen from 3B is checking her mail. She used to ask about Emma and the kids when I first moved in. Now she pretends not to see me. In my apartment I sit on the couch that doubles as my bed and look at the letter again. The affair was a mistake. Abandoning family was a choice. He was right. The affair happened in a moment of weakness and stupidity. Everything after that was deliberate. Every missed call, every skipped visitation, every time I chose liquor over showing, that was a choice. I'm not the victim of my circumstances. I'm the architect of my loneliness. Tomorrow, I'll have to figure out how to live with that knowledge. Tonight I just want to forget that my father spent the last 3 years of his waiting for a son who was too cowardly to come home. The morning after Dad's funeral, I wake on my bathroom floor with in my hair and an eviction notice slipped under my door. 3 months behind on rent. I'd forgotten that bills exist when busy drowning in self-pity. I call in sick to my new job at a call center, the only place that would hire me after word spread about the affair. My supervisor Janet doesn't sound surprised. I've called in sick 12 times this month. Mark, we need to talk when come in tomorrow. I'm getting fired from a job that pays minimum wage and requires no skills beyond reading scripts to angry customers. Even failure has levels, and I've found new ones. My phone buzzes with a Facebook notification. Someone tagged me in a photo from high school. It's our 20-year reunion from last month, an event I avoided because Emma still lives in our hometown and might have been there. In the photo, all my old friends have their arms around their wives, surrounded by kids who look just like them. The comments are brutal. Where's Mark? Anyone heard from him? Didn't he used to be married to Emma Walsh? Someone replied, yeah, he cheated on her. She's better off. 7 likes on that comment. 7 people from my past think Emma is better off without me. They're not wrong. I scroll through Emma's public photos, a habit that's become as compulsive as drinking. There's a recent one of her at Tyler's soccer game, cheering from the sidelines. Tyler's wearing a jersey with number 7. I wore number 7 in high school, Emma remembered. In the background of the photo I spot a man. Mid-30s beard, laughing at something Sophie is saying. His hand is on Emma's shoulder in a way that's casual but intimate. They look like a family. I zoom in on his face until the pixels blur. This is what Sophie and Tyler's new father figure looks like. The man who probably helps with homework and remembers to pick them from soccer practice and doesn't show to scheduled visitations. My hands are shaking as I pour cereal into a bowl. The milk is sour, expired 2 weeks ago. Everything in my is expired. I drive to Dad's house, the house where I grew. The realtor's sign in the yard says sold with a bright red sticker. Some family is gonna move into the rooms where Dad waited for me to come home, where Mom died thinking I hated her. The spare key is still under the rock by the garage. Inside everything is exactly as I remember, except for the hospital bed in the living room where Dad spent his final months. Tom mentioned he refused to in a hospital. He wanted to at home, probably hoping I'd visit one last time. On the mantelpiece, there's a framed photo I've never seen before. It's from Sophie's 6th birthday party, the one I missed because I was with Sarah at a hotel in Portland. In the picture, Dad is holding Sophie while she blows out candles. She's wearing a princess dress that Emma must have picked out. Dad is looking at her with kind of pure joy that grandparents specialize in. I was in Portland that day, telling Sarah I loved her while my daughter wished for her daddy to come home. Upstairs in Dad's bedroom, I find a stack of letters on his nightstand. They're addressed to me but never sent, dozens of them, dating back to right after Emma left. The first one is from 3 years ago and then, from just a month ago, the handwriting shakier. I never got any of these letters because I moved without leaving a forwarding address. Because I was so consumed with avoiding judgment that I made unreachable to the people who still loved me. My phone rings. It's Emma. Tom told me went to Dad's house. The keys were under the rock. They always were. Her voice is softer than it's been in years. I'm sorry about parents, Mark. I really am. Took the kids to see him. He was their grandfather. And he was. Did they ask about me? A long pause. Every time. The words hit like a physical. What did tell them? That Daddy was sad and trying to feel better. I missed Mom's funeral, I know. I sent flowers from all of us from 2. She sent flowers for me to my mother's funeral. This woman I betrayed and abandoned still had enough kindness to make sure I was represented at my mother's final goodbye. The restraining order. I start. Scared me, Mark. Showing to visitations. Sitting outside the house at night. The kids started having nightmares. I was just trying to see them. We're trying to ease guilt without doing the work to actually be their father. She's right. Every interaction I've had with my children for 3 years has been about making feel better, not about being selfish. The man in the soccer photo. Another pause. His name is David. He's been good to us. Gonna marry him. I don't maybe. He loves the kids, Mark. Really loves them. He showing. Such a simple concept that I never mastered. David shows to soccer games and school plays and bedtime stories. David is there when Sophie has nightmares and Tyler skins his knee. David is the father I abandoned my right to be. I want to get better. I hope do. But not for me and not to win us back. That ship sailed a long time ago. Get better, cause Tyler deserves to have a father he can be proud of, even if that father only sees him every other weekend. The restraining order. Stay sober for 6 months. Get counseling. Prove or stable. Then we can talk about supervised visits. The line goes dead. 6 months of sobriety and therapy before I can even hope to see my children for 2 hours under professional supervision. That's assuming I can stay clean long enough to qualify. I drive to the cemetery where they buried Dad yesterday. His grave is covered with flowers from people who actually showed for him. Emma's bouquet is there too, a simple arrangement with a card that reads, "For a wonderful grandfather. Love, Sophie and Tyler." My children sent flowers to their grandfather's grave, but they don't have my phone number. At the far end of the cemetery I find Mom's grave. The headstone is simple: loving wife, mother and grandmother. The dates show she lived to be 63. 3 years younger than I am now. There are no flowers here, just dead leaves and winter brown grass. I brush away the debris and sit in the cold dirt beside her grave. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I'm sorry died thinking I blamed for Dad's reaction. I never blamed. I just couldn't face being the son who destroyed his family. The wind picks through my coat. In the distance, I can see other families visiting graves together. Children learning to honor their dead. My kids are growing without learning that their father comes from somewhere, that they have grandparents who love them. I think about David at Tyler's soccer game, probably learning the names of Tyler's teammates and remembering which position he likes to play. Being the kind of present, engaged father that Tyler deserves. The kind I used to be before Sarah's texts became more important than bedtime stories. My phone buzzes with a LinkedIn notification. Sarah has a new job, some promotion at a marketing firm in Seattle. In her profile photo she's smiling beside a man in a tuxedo, a wedding ring visible on her finger. She got married, to someone who wasn't me obviously. To someone who was probably worth leaving her first husband for. I was never worth anything she risked. I was just convenient, available, and enough to think an affair was about love instead of opportunity. The cemetery is closing soon. I kiss my fingers and press them to Mom's headstone, then do the same at Dad's grave. As I walk back to my car, I pass a family visiting their grandmother's grave. The father is lifting his daughter so she can place flowers on the headstone while his wife takes photos. That's what I should be doing with Sophie and Tyler. Teaching them about their grandparents, helping them understand where they come from. Instead, they're learning about family tradition from David while I sit alone in bars wondering why nobody calls. At home I open my laptop and Google addiction counselors near me. The first result is Dr. Patricia Santos, who specializes in dependency and family trauma. Her next available appointment is in 3 weeks. 3 weeks feels like forever when trying to get sober. But it's also 3 weeks closer to maybe seeing my children again. I pour the rest of my whiskey down the sink and throw away the empty bottles. 6 of them, evidence of how far I've fallen. I'm going to get sober. Good. When? Today. Right now. How many times I've said that? This is different. How? Because Dad's letter was right. The affair was a mistake, but abandoning my family was a choice. I've been making the wrong choice for 3 years. Tom is quiet for a long moment. Emma called me. She said to talk. She's going to marry David. Probably. He's a good guy, Mark. The kids really like him. It should more. Hearing that my replacement is genuinely good for my family. But mostly it just makes me feel empty. Sophie and Tyler deserve a good father figure even if it's not me. Will help me stay sober. How? I don't know. Call me sometimes. Remind me why I'm doing this. Because Tyler should know his real father isn't a complete failure. Because Sophie deserves better than being ashamed of where she came from. Because Mom and Dad deserve better than the son they got. And Emma deserves to be happy. She deserves David if he makes her happy. But the kids, they shouldn't have to grow explaining why their father disappeared. Another long pause. Okay, I'll help. But Mark, if relapse, if disappear again, I'm done. The kids have been through enough uncertainty. I understand. Do. Because this isn't about anymore. This is about 2 children who need to know their father is stable, even if he's not part of their daily lives. That night I don't drink. I order pizza and watch a movie and go to bed sober for the first time in months. I dream about Sophie's 6th birthday party, except in the dream, I'm there instead of with Sarah. I'm helping her out candles and opening presents and being the father she wished for. I wake with it anyway, because guilt is just as. But I don't drink. Not that day, or the next day, or the day after that. 3 months sober. And the cravings haven't gotten easier. They've just gotten more specific. I don't just want any more. I want the specific numbness that helped me forget Sophie's disappointed face when I missed her dance recital. I want to forget the sound Tyler made when he stopped calling me daddy and started calling me Mark. Dr. Santos says this is progress. Remembering the specific pain I was trying to escape. Facing it instead of drowning it. Tell me about the morning decided to cheat. She says during our weekly session. I've told this story a dozen times, but it changes slightly each time as I remember new details, new moments where I could have chosen differently. Emma was pregnant with Tyler. She'd been sick all morning and Sophie was crying because her cereal got soggy. Emma snapped at her, then immediately started crying because she felt guilty. She looked exhausted and overwhelmed and I felt trapped, like I had become nothing but crying children and a wife who was too tired for me. Sarah texted that morning asking if I wanted to grab coffee, and it felt like an escape route from what? From being responsible. From being needed so much that I felt suffocated. Dr. Santos nods. What was the coffee meeting like? Sarah complained about her husband, I complained about Emma. We felt sorry for ourselves together. It was intoxicating, having someone think my problems were valid instead of just expecting me to solve them. When did cross the line? She touched my hand when I was talking about feeling unappreciated. It lasted maybe 3 seconds, but it felt like the first time anyone had seen me as something other than a provider or problem solver in months. And that justified the affair. No, nothing justified it, but it explained how I rationalized it to. I told I deserved attention. I deserved to feel wanted. Do still believe that. I think about David at Tyler's soccer game, probably tired from a long week but still cheering from the sidelines. About Emma juggling 2 kids and a career while I was complaining about feeling underappreciated. I was wanted. Emma wanted a husband who helped with the kids and showed for family dinner. Sophie wanted a father who listened to her stories about school. Tyler wanted someone to teach him to ride a bike. I was wanted for exactly the things I was trying to escape from. Darker Santos writes something in her notepad. How does that feel to recognize? Like drowning. I don't drink. I go to AA meetings in church basements where other people tell stories about losing everything. I'm not the only father who destroyed his family, but I might be the only one who did it so methodically, so deliberately. A guy named Rick sits beside me at meetings. He lost his wife and 3 kids to being clean for 8 years now, works at a hardware store and sees his kids every other weekend. The first year is about not using. He tells me over coffee after a meeting. The second year is about learning to live with what done. The third year is about figuring out who are without the addiction or the family destroyed. Do ever stop feeling guilty? No. But learn to do something useful with the guilt instead of just drowning in it. I ask him what he means. I volunteer at a youth center. Help kids whose fathers abandoned them. Can't fix my own mistakes, but maybe I can keep some other kid from growing wondering why their dad didn't stick around. The idea plants itself in my brain. Using my failure to help other people avoid the same mistakes. At home, I research family counseling programs, places that need volunteers to work with children of divorce. Most require background checks and references, things I'm not sure I can provide given my recent history. But I apply anyway. Emma and I have been texting more regularly, mostly about logistics for potential future visitation. She's cautiously optimistic about my sobriety but realistic about the damage that's been done. I spend hours at the toy store trying to find the perfect gift for a daughter I barely know. The saleswoman asks what Sophie likes, and I realize I don't have a real answer. Princesses and horses, but what else? What makes her laugh? What are her favorite colors now? Does she like to read? I buy a collection of princess books and a stuffed horse, then write a card that takes me 6 drafts to get right. Happy 8th birthday, Sophie. I think about every day and I'm so proud of the smart, kind girl becoming. I hope these books give lots of adventures. Love always, Dad. I almost write Daddy, but settle on Dad. I haven't earned Daddy back yet. Emma texts me a photo from Sophie's party the next week. Sophie is holding my gifts, smiling genuinely for the first time I've seen in years. David is in the background, helping Tyler with a piece of cake, but he's not trying to replace me in the photo. He's just being present, being helpful. My 8-year-old daughter hopes I'm feeling better. She's not angry or resentful, she's just worried about her father's well-being. The kindness in that breaks something open in my chest. I get accepted as a volunteer at the Family Counseling Center. They assign me to work with Dr. Martinez, helping facilitate support groups for children whose parents are divorced or separated. The first session is brutal. 8 kids between ages 6 and 12, all dealing with family breakdown in different ways. Some are angry, some are withdrawn, some blame themselves. A 10-year-old named Marcus asks me why I'm there. My parents got divorced too, I tell him. A few years ago. Do see kids. Not right now. But I'm working on it. Why don't see them? The other counselors warned me the kids would ask direct questions. The rule is to be honest but age appropriate. I made some bad choices that my family. Now I'm trying to get better so I can be a good dad again. My dad says my mom made bad choices too, Marcus says. But he still has to see her every other weekend. Kids are painfully logical. They throw rationalizations and get straight to the point. Marcus is right, I chose to abandon my children while his father chose to co-parent despite his. Or right, I tell him, Dad is handling things better than I did. After the session, Dr. Martinez pulls me aside. That was good. We're honest without making excuses. I felt like I'm giving advice about family relationships when I destroyed mine. Or not giving advice. Or sharing experience. Sometimes the most powerful thing can tell a kid is that adults make mistakes and some mistakes have big consequences. Over the following weeks I start to understand what Rick meant about doing something useful with guilt. These kids need to hear that their parents' divorce isn't their fault, but they also need to understand that choices have consequences. That adults who love them can still make terrible decisions. I tell them about missing Sophie's birthday parties, about choosing over visitation time, about letting pride keep me from my father's deathbed. I tell them these things not to burden them, but to help them understand that they deserve parents who make better choices. Marcus starts staying after group sessions to talk privately. His father is bitter about the divorce and often says negative things about his mother in front of him. Marcus feels caught in the middle, guilty for loving both parents. My dad says mom ruined our family. He tells me one afternoon, but I still love her. Is that wrong? It's not wrong to love parents, even when they make mistakes. Job isn't to judge them or choose sides. Job at kids choose sides. The question hits me unexpectedly hard. I don't think so. I think they just wanted their dad to be present and reliable, and I wasn't those things. Do think they'll forgive? I hope so. But even if they do, I still have to live with the choices I made. Forgiveness doesn't undo consequences. Marcus nods seriously, processing this. These kids are so much wiser than I was at their age, forced to understand complex emotions before they've learned to tie their shoes properly. 5 months sober now. Emma agrees to let me see the kids for 2 hours on a Saturday, supervised by a family counselor. It's been over a year since I've seen them in person. Sophie has grown 3 inches and lost 2 teeth. Tyler is reading simple books and can write his name in even capital letters. They're polite but cautious, like they're meeting a distant relative they've heard stories about. How I've been, Daddy? Sophie asks and the title hits me like a physical. I've been working on feeling better. I tell her, like Mommy told. Not sad anymore. I'm still sad sometimes, but I'm learning better ways to handle sad feelings. Tyler shows me a drawing he made of a soccer ball. I play soccer now. David taught me. I feel the familiar of jealousy, followed by something new, gratitude. My son learned to play soccer because another man stepped when I stepped away. Tyler got to experience the joy of learning a new sport because David was present and engaged. That's wonderful, Tyler. David sounds like a good teacher. Sophie pulls out one of the books I sent for her birthday. I read this one 3 times. The princess saves herself in the end. Just like, I tell her, both strong and smart. The 2 hours pass quickly. When it's time to leave, Sophie hugs me carefully like she's not sure if she's supposed to. Tyler waves shyly from behind the counselor. Can we sit again? Sophie asks. I want to. And if I keep making good choices, I want to keep making good choices, Daddy. In the parking lot, I sit in my car and cry harder than I have since the day Emma left. Not from sadness but from the overwhelming weight of possibility. My children still love me. They still want me in their lives. I still have a chance to be someone they can be proud of. But I also understand now that love isn't enough. Wanting to be better isn't enough. I have to actually be better, consistently, for years, before I earn the right to be a daily presence in their lives again. I drive to Dad's grave and tell him about seeing the kids. They're so much bigger, Dad. Sophie's reading chapter books, and Tyler can kick a soccer ball higher than his head. Would have loved watching them grow.